Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of We Should Have Recorded That with Phil and.
Adam.
Hey, Adam, how
Hi,
are you
Phil.
doing? Hey,
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good too. I'm doing good. Are you hearing me all right?
What good are you doing?
Well,
Phil, what
I'm
good are you doing?
I'm doing a lot. I am. So I don't know if this is why you're asking me. So, dear listeners, as Adam would say, I am renovating. My wife and I have bought a our first home. So I hope that's some
Woohoo!
applause. Thank you. And so
You can
me,
insert that after the fact, right?
yes, I can. I can put that applause in there. So I am doing to save us some money because we're not rich people. I'm doing a lot of the demolition. I'm thankfully, I should give a shout out. I'm gonna say his name, Mr. David King, is helping me out. He came by, and so I about an hour, about 2 hours actually. We took out some bathroom vanities, and I'm gonna go do some more work so we can have someone come in and do that work for us. So yeah, so yes, that's what's going on with me right now. Adam, are you doing anything any good that you're doing you want to share before we go
Am I
into it?
doing any good? I mean, I'm trying every day, but it's
Right.
just I ask my students whether I'm doing any good. But
Okay.
what I am doing is
Uh,
well. I
well,
am doing
good.
well.
You're doing well. All right. Well, good. 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 I'm doing well too. We have a special guest today. I want to just tease that, but
Woo!
yeah,
Yeah!
we have a special guest. But
Special guest.
before we go to our special
I,
guest,
I always get
um,
ahead of myself.
it's okay. I get excited too. We please, if you are enjoying our podcast, please, share, like the videos, comment. And if you want to comment, you can always comment through the voice messenger, and whatever email, however you want to reach out to us, please reach out to us. And I don't
You
think
know
I
what?
have any comments. Yes.
I will even take a cassette tape. If they want to mail me a cassette tape,
Okay.
I will then record. I have to find a way to play a cassette tape.
Yes, I was about to ask you how would you do that? How
But
would you
I
play it?
will find. I bet my parents still have a cassette player.
I'm
So
sure
I
they
will go to
do.
Pennsylvania. I will play the cassette tape, record it on my phone, and then
Uh huh.
send you the file, Phil.
Okay, that's very retro. 'Cause that's
I
you know
am daring our listeners today
to send you a
to
cassette
mail
tape.
me a cassette tape with what they think about the show.
Hey, I mean, I'm looking forward. I wonder who's gonna accept that challenge. I'm wondering who's
Now,
gonna
Phil,
accept that
um,
challenge.
I
Yes.
don't want to delay getting to our esteemed guest, but I do
Yes.
have to ask you a question I've been meaning to ask since like a year. Actually, we are coming up on our first year anniversary, aren't we?
Yeah, I think
It's
we
a
have maybe.
WSRTwPA milestone.
I think we have another month, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
We're
I have
getting
to
close.
check exact.
But okay, so how close are we getting to the 10,000? What there was it? Didn't
Yeah,
we
I
weren't we
think it
paid like
was.
15 cents after 10,000
I think we were gonna get
downloads?
$15 that we're gonna have.
$15?
Yeah,
How close am I to getting coffee?
let me see. And but that's the thing. The thing is, we would have to have 15 downloads with the ad. So I don't think we've done
Oh,
anything with that.
wait.
We are
You mean
at
10,000 downloads?
10,000 downloads. Yeah, what did I say? 15. We're at 10,000 downloads, but I right now we're at 1,500.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say we were at 10,000. And I'm like, man, we
Mm-mm.
could have gotten $15. I have
Right.
been drinking more coffee as the semester has gotten
Okay.
heavier. I could have used it with Circle Pot funded coffee.
Well, maybe I was gonna say maybe over the summer we can record some ads, try to make that $15.
Record some ads. This podcast is brought to you by glass.
Glass.
Glass. It's something that you can put in your windows or
Yes.
drink out of it or
Yes.
make
Yeah.
screens out of it. Glass for all of your transparent needs.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm just gonna
That
do a
glass,
hard.
We're ready for you.
Yes. Whatever
my
company
word.
named Glass.
Phil,
So
oh my word. Okay, so we're recording this later than we typically do, and
We
my
are.
sanity just goes downhill. Will you introduce our very exciting guest? And I will do my best to contain myself.
I will. So, our guest today is one of your former students and one of my fellow alumni from Roberts, Julie Steidle. Hello, Julia. Sorry. That was terrible.
You just called her Judy.
Sorry. Hello,
You know, it's
Julia.
the first time. It's the first time
That-
anyone's ever called me that name. So
Julia
That's-
Steidle is here.
Yeah, that's the
Hello.
first time I think I've ever called you that. Hello, Julia.
hi,
And I-
thank you so much for having me, gentlemen.
I hope you enjoy that. I hope you enjoy us today. I mean, I think we're getting off on a weird start, but I hope,
Oh,
It's okay.
I hope it gets. I hope it is. We can only go up from here. I think we can only go up.
Okay. Dear audience and Phil, when we
Yes.
were, Julie and I were on the Zoom call before Phil turned on his camera and started talking to us, and I told Julia that she's not allowed to tell me. Julia graduated just this past May. She was a pandemic graduate.
Yes, I was.
I got to hear her name read from my television screen while I did wear my academic regalia in my
You
living
did.
room. Julie, you remember that picture I sent you? Of
Yes,
me-
I do.
Yeah, of me in my doctoral robes in my living room, as your name was called. But I have lost touch with Julia. I've not gotten to hear about her adventures, and I told her not to tell me until we were recording, so that my reaction is authentic and spontaneous.
Completely
So
genuine.
Julia, what have you been up
So-
to since finishing college?
I haven't really been up to a lot, it seems. I mean, I'm sure I've been up to more than I think I have. I've mostly just been working a lot, gotta pay off those student loans. So,
Where are you working?
I have a temp position with a bank. I've been there since June, so coming up on almost a year. Yeah,
You're a banker.
sort of. I work in an office, not as like a teller or anything. I spend a lot of my time scanning papers.
Scanning.
So- hmm
I mean, at least
So-
you're not like, if you were saying you were photocopying papers, then I
No.
would think that you were in a 20th century job. But since you're scanning them, we know that this is the year 2021.
Yes.
Yes. You're bringing your bank into the 21st century. We're making
Yes.
digitizing.
Yes. It's I'm very happy to have the job. So,
Great. Yeah.
Hey, excellent. And Julia was a vocal performance major. Julia, have
Yes.
you been doing any singing?
I have been doing some singing. So, I studied with Dr. Jeffrey McGee when I was at Roberts, just like Phil, so we were in
Woo!
studio together.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of our favorite guests here
Yes.
at WSRTwPA.
And so I continued to take lessons with Dr. McGee after I graduated, and I actually gave a recital in October. I was trying to make up for the fact that my senior recital got canceled, and my church was kind enough to let me give my recital there. So that was quite an exciting project to try to put together mostly on my own. So, and I am still taking lessons, but I have switched to a different teacher with Dr. McGee's blessing. And it's been going really well. I have actually changed voice parts as well, and I'm a mezzo soprano these days.
You're
I am.
Excellent. I remember having to put you in the soprano section your senior year because something that never happens to choral conductors happened to me. I didn't have enough sopranos.
Yeah, I was shocked when you moved me.
You were an
Um,
excellent soprano, Julia.
well, thank
I
you.
do
Thank
remember
you.
though your consternation at having spent 3 years as an alto, and then it does take some figuring out, doesn't it, to
It
suddenly be singing melody.
it does. It does, but it was a wonderful experience both as an alto and as a soprano. I really enjoyed my time in the chorale. So,
Well, you were integral, and we miss you very much.
I miss being a part of it. I really miss being a part of choirs because of the
Mm,
pandemic. Not that you haven't heard that from every other person you've spoken to,
mm,
but
yes. Well, yeah. For so many reasons,
hmm
many of us miss choirs. Phil, you were a wonderful soprano as well.
Oh, really? Yes. I'm sure I was. I'm
I'm
sure I was.
kidding. Phil was a bass.
I was. I was a bass, but I think I'm still trying to figure out my voice too, Julia. So I don't even. I
hmm
think Dr. McGee is calling me more of a baritone, like a baritone with some low notes. So,
sure.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so,
it's a
so yeah,
process that never really ends figuring out what you're
right.
supposed to be singing because it changes from genre to genre and depends on who's listening to you. So,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Phil, Professor Fee, Constance Fee is another voice teacher at Roberts for our.
Mhm.
I don't want our little reunion here to get too inside or jokey, but
Right.
Dr. McGee is a baritone,
Mhm.
like you are, Phil,
Right.
except Professor Fee would tell Dr. McGee whenever she heard you sing, Jeff, he sounds just like a baritone version of you. Because she is convinced that he is
Is a tenor.
actually a tenor.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh,
Man,
I've told him, I've
what's
told
that?
him he could be a tenor if he just worked hard.
Oh
That's the
man.
difference between a baritone and a tenor.
It,
A tenor is a baritone who works hard.
that is funny. That is funny. Oh man, that is too funny. I mean, we should have brought him in here because now I would like to have heard what he would have said to that. But Julia, so I mean, when you say you're a mezzo soprano, I can really hear that because you
mhm.
definitely do have, that low, you know, meaty tone. How like what is
Richness.
yeah,
Yes.
rich. Thank you for giving me a word, a richness to the low tones of your voice. How what has that been like to explore mezzo music?
Well, thank you for your compliment. I really appreciate that. It's been really interesting. I really do, it turns out, resonate with a lot more, especially in opera, with a lot more of the mezzo characters. I am very
Mm-hmm.
good at playing a mom, an older sister, a you know those kinds of characters. I come by it naturally. I was always the mom friend with my friends, and but it's also really interesting exploring, um, especially like pants roles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I started right away when I became a mezzo learning Cherubino's arias from Le Nozze di Figaro because you can't be a mezzo and not learn those arias.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the kind of characters I've never really related to, and so exploring them and kind of getting to know them better has been really, really a rewarding experience. And also, um, recognizing that all of the art songs are still available to me, but just in keys
Yes.
that I don't feel like I'm, reaching for high notes or trying to stay in a tessitura that's not comfortable for me. So I'm really enjoying it. It's been very fun to explore, some of the richer colors in my voice and and find things that I'm really comfortable singing with.
That's exciting.
Uh,
Julie, what are some of your aspirations for the future?
So for right now, actually, in the most immediate future, I am planning to go to grad school in the fall. I have been accepted to do my Master of Music in Vocal Performance at the Crane School of Music at SUNY Potsdam. So thank
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
you. Thank you. Adam actually wrote one of my letters of recommendation for them. So thank you for that. I'm sure that your recommendation really helped me.
It
Um,
was glowing. I
oh,
will say that.
well, thank you. Um, so yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to doing next. And then after that, I'm hoping to kind of explore maybe some young artist programs and really just try to
Mm-hmm.
get some more performing experience under my belt. My ultimate goal for my career is to find a smaller opera house that I can kind of call home and have a long term contract there singing in operas and concerts and that kind of thing. And to be able to teach students as well. I'm hoping to explore some of that this summer, actually, trying to teach some of my own students. So,
Mhm. Terrific. Julia, okay, so this is a question we didn't prepare you for, but you're
okay,
quick on your feet.
sure.
So, um, I want to ask you first of all, um, what are some of the most important life lessons you learned during college? And then I want to ask if you could go back and do one thing differently,
Mm.
what would it be? So, take your pick, whichever
Wow.
question you want to do first.
Um, all right, so some of the most important life lessons from college. Number one, this one will be familiar to both of you, is comfort with ambiguity.
Mm.
Yes,
It
I
was
feel like I might have said that two or three
countless times.
thousand times.
Especially, dealing with the pandemic and all of that, really being
Mm.
comfortable with. Historically, I am not a person that handles change very well. I will own up to that. I'm sure you have both seen that.
Nor did you handle ambiguity well when I first met you.
No,
Yes.
no. And so learning to be comfortable with that change and that flexibility is still a lesson I learn, every single day for the rest of my life. But it's definitely helped me to get more familiar with, okay, this isn't necessarily what I thought would happen, but we'll go with it and make the best of it.
Yeah.
Um, and that's really been something that's come in very handy in every aspect of life, but especially with music and all of the change that comes with that. Um, it's also been really interesting, going to a Christian school for music. It's been so interesting seeing how I can incorporate my faith into all of the music I sing, not
Mm.
just the religious pieces.
Yes.
Um, and that's just been something really important. And also the importance of having peers and colleagues that share your faith and understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, most places you go, you're not going to have a professor that you can talk faith with and how your beliefs incorporate with your music and on a level that they can understand anyway, because they might not believe the same thing as you.
Mm.
And so that's something I've really appreciated as well. So,
Mm. Yes. I'm
and
I'm
then,
very grateful that those are a couple of the lessons that you are taking on,
I,
because and you both know this, Julia and Phil. You both know this, um, as both from the student perspective and also from the teacher's perspective. The most important lessons a music teacher ever teaches have little to do with music,
mm,
right?
yeah.
mhm,
The most important lesson, music is a
absolutely.
vehicle to to prepare students for life.
Yeah. So you were, I think,
Anyway,
Absolutely.
you were. Where did you finish your thought, Julia?
I think for that question, I did, yeah.
Okay.
So now we get to the juicy one. If you could go back and do something differently, what would you do differently?
I mean, I don't really know that doing anything differently would have necessarily helped me because I feel God led me on the path he did for a reason and everything happened the way it was supposed to for a reason. I suppose if anything, I would have auditioned for chorale when I was a freshman. I did not because I was too scared to.
Mm.
Um, and so I sang in the women's choir for my freshman year of college, which was great, a wonderful experience. The last time I sang soprano one. Um, and it wasn't until my sophomore year when I was more used to what college was like and um, when Adam came in that I decided to audition for chorale, and I was very fortunate to get in that year. Um, I think maybe that is the only thing I would do differently, um, because the rest of it has brought me to a really great place in my life. So
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that.
You know,
Phil,
one
can
of
I
the
ask you that same question?
what's that?
Is
What I would
there,
do differently?
if you could go back and do one thing differently, what would the one thing be?
If I could go back and do one thing differently. Mm, um, I think maybe we've talked about what are you laughing about? Maybe
I just, you had this face or expression
it's my thinking face. I'm trying to think, but I think what the thing that I would do differently is maybe kind of what to the effect of what Julie was saying, like facing um, my fears, trying to figure out how to face those insecurities, maybe even the better word of that kind of held me down, or prevented me from pursuing certain opportunities. So yeah, let let me ask you one question, Julia.
sure.
Because you talked about being comfortable with ambiguity, and
Mm-hmm.
I think like that's something I think about even now as I'm trying to figure out life as a married man, as a family man, I guess you would say. the like how is that? What way has that played out now for you? Can you give an example of trying to? Because one of the ways I say it, like X and Y are options, and maybe both of them are good, but you wanted to do X, but God wanted you to do Y, and that doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
Y. That doesn't mean X wasn't good, but God just wanted you to do Y. Have you experienced that, and what was that like?
Sure. I mean, I think we kind of face stuff like that every day. We have choices we
Mm-hmm.
have to make every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think, honestly, though, that not to bring it back to this, but the biggest example of that I can think of is changing what voice type I am. I It's something that has been suggested to me since I was a freshman that
Mm-hmm.
maybe I should be singing mezzo repertoire instead, and I just had it in my stubborn little mind that that wasn't something I should do and that I didn't want to do that. And it took, yeah, 4.5 years for me to finally become comfortable with that idea. And I suppose that is another thing I guess I could go back and do differently is maybe be more comfortable with the
Mm-hmm.
idea of exploring, my voice and its capabilities more. And becoming more flexible with that idea of changing, my voice type and what characters that would let me play and so yeah, that's probably the best example or biggest example I have of that. So, and I'm really glad that I did make the switch because I think it'll serve me well, even just, if I don't stay a mezzo, um, developing this area of my voice will really help. So,
Julie, do you think uh, what would you say is the reason that you held on to your self-concept as a soprano so hard?
Um, so all while I was growing up, and I was exploring music, I was just always kind of put in part one, soprano, just because I was a strong singer, which really just means I was loud. Um,
Yep.
yeah.
Bingo.
Um, and so, and even when I went on to do, larger things like all county and area, all state, my teacher always submitted me as a soprano one. And so I got it in my mind, okay, that must be what I must be. And I think with sopranos, there is always this mentality that being a soprano one is the best and you have to be a soprano one, and just kind of, especially when you're young, when you're in high school and stuff, that's what everyone thinks is, oh, if you can sing the high notes, then you must be the best singer. And so I think I just was in that kind of environment for so long that it was kind of difficult to change my mindset and recognize that singing high notes doesn't make you a good singer. And, being a soprano doesn't make you, ultimately better than everyone else. Like, all voices are different. You have to teach your voice according to what your voice is able to do. And so yeah, I think it's just kind of a product of its raising, I guess, for lack of a better explanation.
Yeah. I think we can hold on to these, voice types like any other identity label,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
it's like once we've adopted a label for ourselves, it can really make our thinking in that area rigid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I figured it out. This is what I am, um,
Absolutely.
and yeah, it is. It is. Did you find as you were making the switch, um, did you find that you were was that an unsettling feeling for any part of the transition?
Yes and no. Ever since I started my undergrad program, like I said, I've had people suggest to me, maybe you should be a mezzo. Are you a mezzo? And looking at, you know, the first opera I was cast in, I was a cover for two mezzo roles. Um, I sang alto in the choir for 2 years. My second opera I was cast in was another mezzo role. Like, it just never like fully clicked with me, but all the signs were there. And so finally putting all the pieces together was not so much unsettling, but in a way it was kind of like you have to let go of something, and that's always really challenging. Um, but by the time I finally made that switch, I was more comfortable with it myself, and I realized that, particularly when it comes to opera, because that's what I primarily want to pursue, that I never really had connections with a lot of the characters that sopranos sing as.
Yeah.
And when I finally made that realization that I really related more to a lot of the mezzo characters, it made the switch a lot easier. So it definitely was difficult, having that identity that I held on to since I was, probably like 10 years old, being a soprano. Um, yeah, it was difficult, but in the end, I'm really really glad that I made the change because it's going to be better for my voice.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah. I like what you said. All the signs were there. You just weren't ready to accept it yet.
hmm
It's like I have a college professor colleague who insists that he is a blue collar worker. And it's like, you have a PhD, you read books all day, you like work in the ivory tower. Like, all the signs are there that you're actually white collar. But okay, if you want to think of yourselves as wearing overalls and driving a pickup truck, that's fine. You just wear a shirt and tie and drive a Prius. But that's okay.
Right.
You can be blue collar.
Oh, that's funny. Man, Julia, I'm really glad we're having this conversation because there's so much I think we can pick at here to kind of dig it into a little bit more. I think I want to come back. Well, before we do that, I want to stay on the mezzo and talk about the pants roll and the connection. Yeah, because you were saying that has kind of been kind of if I heard you correctly, that it's been hard to make those connections. So
Yeah.
how have you made the connections with those roles? Has that been fun or difficult?
Um, it's been it's been a combination of both.
Okay.
So the first pants role that I'm really tackling like full force since making the switch
Mm-hmm.
is Cherubino. And he is a character that I look at him, just on paper, and I don't like what I see. It is not a He is a 14-year-old boy. I have never been a 14-year-old boy. Um and so I don't know that it's a character looking at him that I will be able to accurately portray. So, um, if I enjoy doing research, and so being able to do some
Mm-hmm.
research on his character and you know um, the time frame that that this opera is coming from, and talking to some of my friends that have studied the character before has been really helpful to give me some insight. And the teacher that
Mm-hmm.
I have right now too has also given me a lot of insight in her experience on how to explore this role. And so it's been fun, but it's also been challenging because these are the kinds of characters that I never really expected to play. Um, but they're almost like an acting challenge. And
Mm-hmm.
that can be really fun. That can be really fun. It's not my first time playing a man. Um, I did that a time or two in high school, just because the nature of high school drama clubs. So
Right.
it's fun to kind of dive into that side of music.
So how is the personal connection? Have because I think so, for me, I try to find a personal connection to kind of help me, um, connect to either whether it's even just an art song, maybe the poem, like there's figuring
Sure.
out how does this personally relate to me. How have you been able to find a personal connection to these roles, or as you're singing them?
I mean, to a certain extent, yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, the two pants roles that I've explored were Hansel and Gretel, and then
Mm-hmm.
Cherubino, of course. And you know, I kind of have to look at them, because I've obviously never been in the position of those characters, but I've also been, Hansel's a younger sibling. I'm a younger sibling. I get
Mm-hmm.
it. You know, I and I understand where he's coming from. I babysat a lot when I was younger. I've, witnessed a lot of what 8-year-old boys are like. So I know how to translate that. If I just think like, okay, this is, relating that character to someone else I have, interacted with in my life can definitely
Mm-hmm.
help. So same
Mm-hmm.
with Cherubino, I can see, you know, the 14-year-old boys I used to work with in youth group and see, okay, this is how their minds work. Let's see if I can get into that mindset. So, and plus even just taking, the fact that they're male characters out of the equation. I've, been 8 years old. I know what 8-year-olds act like and what their energy is like. I've been 14 before. I know how awkward being 14 can be. So, yeah, trying to pull your own life experience in there and really just, you know, get comfortable living inside that character is really going to help me in the long run, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the other things I was thinking about as we're kind of, I think what this is, what we're kind of reflecting on is like, the word I think about is like metamorphosis. Like, you kind of
Absolutely.
go in as one thing, and in the cocoon, and come out as
Yeah.
another. And the choir is kind of a place for that, right? I mean, not that you would
hmm
sing all four voice types, or all eight, but but
that's very true.
but but
When we
but
did
go
oh
ahead.
oh what was it? Just thinking about this piece, the Borodine. We did the
Oh yes,
from Prince Igor,
yes,
and
Oh yes.
I sang tenor and bass with that piece. So I have sung all four voice parts.
Was I is that the, what is it called, Provetzian
Polvetzian
dancing?
dances, that's what
Helvetii
it was.
dances, yes, and that's right. I had yes, because they just needed more sound, and so
hmm
there were places where just yes. Oh, you're giving away
hmm
all of my dirty secrets.
Wow, yeah, that's funny. I was just thinking about that because we talked about that piece, and I think when we were trying to reflect on it, like, what are the redeeming qualities from this piece of music?
Do you remember we learned that piece in like a week?
Yes, it was insane.
Do you remember
It was
when
intense.
we showed up to the orchestra, not the dress rehearsal, but the one rehearsal we had with the orchestra before the dress rehearsal, and
Hmm.
we sang that rehearsal on solfege.
I think I
I,
do remember something like
I
that.
think so.
Yes,
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
times.
yeah.
it
I
was good
mean,
times. But you know what?
Learning
I
experiences.
enjoyed that because I got to sing with my students.
Mm,
uh-huh.
Since I wasn't conducting, I really enjoyed
yeah.
that concert.
Right. Yeah. 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 I mean, because we needed more sound, right? That's like you
hmm
were. Yeah. Just
I
needed
mean,
some help.
I was happy not to. That was just that was anyway. I'm done.
So let me I just the choir as that kind of cocoon
hmm
for like exploring, and
Absolutely.
as you were saying before, like, like, what do you think about that? Like, how was that, and exploring your different voice types in the choir?
Doing it in the choir setting was really helpful because there were other people who were experiencing the same thing I was.
Hmm.
Mm,
You know, some other, younger singers in the choir who were also maybe singing a different voice type for the first time.
mm-hmm,
And also just being in the choir setting, we all have to take personal responsibility for ourselves. We all need to know our own parts and, know the text and just, be on your A game as much as possible. But you also have a group of people around you who are able to help and support you and fill in for you, maybe when you're not doing your best. And so I was exploring my voice type, but I was surrounded by other people who were saying, it's okay, we got you.
mm-hmm,
You still have to do what you have to do, but we're going to be here to catch you if you fall, basically. And
mm-hmm,
so being surrounded by such a wonderful group of people who were just really willing to be supportive and encouraging and were really a family really gives, I think, any member of the choir, that stability and that security to be able to try something new and experience something different.
Yeah.
So,
Julia, before
yes.
we move into final segments, is there anything on your mind that you would like to share with the WSRTwPA audience?
Do you mind if I share how I met each of you?
Oh, that would be fun.
yes.
Because I didn't meet either of you doing music. And I don't know if either of you would remember when I met you.
I'm not
Um,
sure.
so, Phil, I met you at like 9 a.m. in our Intro to New Testament class.
Ah, yes.
in your first
Hmm.
semester there, and I'm pretty sure you were the only student who could stay awake for that entire class. So Phil was always on his A game in that class to the point that our professor had to be out one day, so he asked Phil to lead the class for us instead of just canceling.
I've never heard that story.
Yeah,
I did. I taught the
you led the
class once.
discussion on Philippians, I
Yeah.
believe.
I have something. I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Phil sat
Some
right
point.
next to me, actually.
That's
We did.
awesome.
That's how we met
You
each other.
met each other.
Yeah.
It was probably a Monday morning, the first Monday of the semester at 9 a.m.
Something
I think
like
it was a
that.
Tuesday.
I
Yeah, and
think
then
it
I
was
think
a
we
Tuesday, Thursday.
and then I think I met you in studio later that day, and that's how I learned that you were a music major and
Wonderful.
that you were in my studio, and the rest is history.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so exciting.
So,
Cool.
and then Adam, I met you the day that you came for your interview at
Mm-hmm.
Roberts. There was a
Mm.
student panel they put together, uh, and I
In the
was in that panel.
library, right?
So
In
in
the
the library,
in
yes.
I
And I
remember
remember
that.
um, very specifically that we were all very impressed by you, and how willing you were to be vulnerable and really share your faith journey with us, but also that your socks coordinated with your tie. Thought you might
I
get a kick out of that.
I don't even remember what I was wearing, but my socks matched my tie. All right,
Yeah.
that's
So,
that's what got me the job, right?
well, you had many, many other wonderful qualities, but yes, that was the main reason.
But that was the
So,
main
That was the
reason.
main
Yes.
reason.
and then I will never forget when I went to have my chorale audition with you, and you pronounced my name so emphatically in the phonetic manner. It's just stuck with me.
Julia.
Yes, just like Julia Child.
Ooh.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Unhinge
Mm.
that jaw. Ooh.
so
That's awesome. Oh, Julia, that's
yeah,
a fun memory.
Yes.
That's really good. That's a
I'm
great
glad I
time.
was able to share them. It's been, really wonderful having your friendships in my life, and so I'm glad I was able to start them at a place like Roberts, and then I'm able to continue them now.
Yes.
Yes.
Amen. That's right.
Yes.
Friendships that will
Hmm.
persevere for a lifetime.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So Julia, we end every episode. You are a listener to WSRTwPA, so you know this
I
already.
am.
We end with current events corner and what did you learn? So, are you willing to play along?
Yes, of course.
Awesome. All right. Who wants to go first with their current event?
Mm,
All right, I will.
okay.
And as I was leaving chorale rehearsal tonight, I pulled my phone out of my pocket and saw that Derek Chauvin has been found guilty in all three charges brought against him in the killing of George Floyd. And I just think that it is. I think there was a lot of trepidation. Um, that it is notoriously difficult to convict a police officer for wrongdoing, um,
Mm,
and I hope that this verdict brings George Floyd's family some sense of peace, even though obviously um, no verdict can ever make up for their loss.
yeah.
Phil, how about you?
Yeah. I mean, that actually was going to be my current event too. I think I would. I was listening as I was coming back, and something that Vice President Harris said, just kind of ringing in my ear that um, this is a measure of justice, but it's not. I think she may have said equity and justice or equal justice,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's what I want to see. And I talked about this last week, where we have this beautiful community where every life is valued um, equally, and that we care about every life, and especially those that are disenfranchised. So, yeah,
Yes.
yes. Julia, what about you?
My current event is not a terribly serious one.
That's
But
good.
Yeah.
I've just been really encouraged by seeing more and more of the community returning to live music performances.
Mm-hmm.
In my own area, our local symphony has been able to start doing, recordings with, socially distanced and reduced groups together, but they're still able to make music. And I know that I believe it's the San Francisco Opera this weekend is doing their first live opera in over a year, and it's like a drive-in movie style. And I
Mm-hmm.
just am so amazed by how musicians all over the world have been able to adapt to and accommodate for what's been going on. I see the chorale and how you've been doing different formations and locations and your virtual concerts and all that. And it's just really encouraging to see how everyone has been able to do music in the meantime, but also seeing that we're getting back to being able to all do live music together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is an incredibly hopeful time, I think,
Mm-hmm.
coming out of the pandemic, and I hope that the progress continues. I was just today. Uh, I'll be. You would actually. You two are the very first to hear this. The chorale will be able to have a very limited but in-person audience for our final concert of the semester.
Well,
Oh,
great.
that's wonderful.
It's we will have. I
Oh,
mean,
that's so exciting.
it's extremely limited. But if you're a senior in the chorale, you can
Yes.
invite 2 people. Woohoo!
Yes.
That's
That would
better
be
than
great for
singing
them.
for a camera. Let me tell you.
Right. Yeah. Yes. You can see some whites. See the whites in people's eyes.
Yes.
That sounded weird when I
That's all
said
right.
that.
Well, you're used to seeing some whites.
Okay. All
I'd
right.
travel back to Rochester just to see that concert.
Yes. I mean, Julia, you're in Ohio, right?
I am not. I am in upstate New York, like right at the base of the Adirondacks.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hmm.
Oh, great. So, I'm not gonna keep interviewing, but did you move there with your family? Because I know your dad is your dad a pastor?
My dad is not a pastor. You're
Okay,
confusing me with
your friend.
You are
with my
confusing
friend.
me with Becca. Yeah.
Yes, you are. We are very
I'm
similar.
so sorry.
That's
I'm so.
okay.
She is in
No.
Ohio. I'm so sorry. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
and her dad is a pastor. Yeah.
I'm so
No, so
why?
I am actually in the same town that I have lived in my whole life. It's where I come from, where I got started in music and all that. My family
Uh
did move to a different house while I was in college, but
huh. Okay.
yeah. So growing up out in the middle of nowhere, and I live on a farm. That's a
Right.
fun
Woohoo!
fact. So
Yes.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So, Phil is our guest today. Julia Steidle from New York, or Judy from Ohio.
My alter ego.
Yeah. I mean,
You
I
are
think
the
I just gave you.
doppelganger from
There I go.
Yes.
Ohio.
There we go.
If you ever need an alias, there you go,
There we
Julia. I
go.
think I just helped
Judy.
you out.
All right, we end our
Anyway,
episode
we need to
reviewing
end.
something from the episode that we learned, and I am going to start and with just my learning here, Julia's finding of her new identity as a mezzo. So that's pretty cool. How about you, Phil? What did you learn from Julia?
I'm gonna say it a little different. Julia finally saw the signs, and
Mm.
I think I can appreciate that because I think I've seen that in my own life too. So yeah.
Yeah. Julia, did you learn anything? You were the guest, so we were supposed to be learning from you.
Well, we learned from everything. I learned that Phil's a little confused about who I am. Um, uh,
I'm sorry,
but I've
Julia.
also learned that we all really benefit from change and exploration of our voices
Hmm.
and our identities, and that there's so much to gain from that. So,
Mm.
Yes. Amen to that. That is a great word to go out on.
Yes,
So,
yes, it is.
anything else with the good of the order, Phil?
That's it. Thank you, Julia. Thank you,
Thank
Julia.
you, Julia.
I'm so happy to
Uh,
be here. Thank you for having me.
yes, and stay in touch and
Of
Yes,
enjoy
course.
grad school and all of the stuff.
Thank you.
yes, yeah. We'll have to have you on to talk about that. To talk about graduate school. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anytime, I'd be so happy to.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Well, then, dear audience, I will say bye for now.
Adios.